Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next podcast about the psychology degree, undergraduate and postgraduate. Today, I have with me a fantastic tutor, Julie Prescott, and my colleague from work, Marta.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, Julie.
Hi, good morning.
Julie, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself, about your background?
Okay, well, I'm a chartered psychologist. I did my degree started my degree in 1993. So I've been studying and working in psychology for quite some time now. I'm an active researcher as well. So as well as being a lecturer and head of psychology, I still enjoy the research aspect. And my research area is around looking at how we can use digital innovations to support people's mental health.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is interesting. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, so I might sound a bit funny.
It's
but
okay,
yeah.
we all sick these days. Just came back from education fair with a lot of people, and like half of my office is like sneezing. Still COVID around. Okay, so did you do a bachelor degree in psychology and then master in psychology, or?
I actually did. I did my bachelor's degree in psychology, and as I was going through the psychology degree, remember this is in 1993 to 96, I started to grow an interest in gender. So when I finished my degree, I decided to do a master's in women's studies because I was interested in feminist theory. So I really enjoyed that. But then I moved back over and did my PhD in a clinical area of psychology at the University of Liverpool. So,
Okay.
so I kind of and then my interest, I was still interested in gender issues, but it kind of developed into because my PhD was actually looking at women working in the STEM sector and specifically computer games. So then I developed an interest in kind of technology more generally and how we as humans relate and interact with technology and how we can use technology to help us rather than always kind of looking at technology as the reason for mental health issues. So that's kind of where my trajectory kind of goes.
So how we can help people with mental health issues by technology? What does it mean exactly? This is interesting.
Well, I've had PhD students in the past that have developed computer games that can support young people when they've got anxiety, so they can go to the game, the app, and they can use it and it reduces their anxiety. And it's all theory-based, so using things like CBT. So it's using CBT techniques to reduce that anxiety. I've had PhD students look at the use of VR for therapeutic intervention. I'm currently working with a colleague, and we've developed, he's called Eric. He's an emotionally responsive interactive client. So he's a chatbot, but he helps counselling students practice their counselling skills, because it's very difficult to practice the counselling skills as a student, obviously, because you can't, shadow a counsellor or be in that kind of counselling situation. So it's just a way of helping them to practice their skills. So it's thinking about things like that, how we can use it to either support practitioners or how we can use it to support people. I also do research with online counselling. Can I mention the name Koof.com? And yeah, that's okay. You can get it out if I'm not allowed it. But yeah, so Koof.com and online counselling, seeing how that works and how that can support and how we can improve those kind of environments for young people.
We have big demand of the students who want to study psychology now. I think after COVID, the people thinking that, I can do this job online, for example, and really a lot of students wants to join this subject. And I'm really surprised that even if someone has the degree from another subject, they can do a conversion course on master. But how when I saw this course, and I was like, how someone can learn within 1 year how to do this job? It's
okay. I'll just clarify. So the conversion, you're right. You can do any other degree and then join the conversion. And the conversion, it's an intense course because it is a year, so it is intense. But the conversion gives you the BPS accreditation, which is the first step to become a psychologist. So if you do an undergraduate degree in psychology or a conversion, you are not a psychologist. There's always further studies to go to, but you've got to have that basis in order to carry on to the next steps to become a psychologist.
So because there's a number
routes in psychology, professional routes. So there's occupational, counselling, forensic, clinical, to name just a couple. And you need further training down those routes to become, you know, a psychologist.
Okay, so how many years students have to study to become like a professional psychologist?
It depends on what route you go down. So, for instance, forensic psychology is usually a master's degree. So it'd be a couple of years master's degree, whereas a clinical psychologist is a doctorate level. So they all have different, so they're either master's level or doctorate level. Counselling psychologist is doctorate level. Occupational is master's level. So but it is that specialised training, or you've got your PhD route, which I did, and then became a chartered psychologist through my teaching and my research.
So to become the clinical psychologist, they have to do how many years of practice?
They would have to do the clinical psychology doctorate. So you would have to get the either your undergraduate or your conversion, and then go on to your doctorate in clinical psychology. And clinical psychology is a hard one to get onto. So a lot of the time, to get onto a clinical psychology program, you would need to get some experience so that you know kind of the working environment that you're going into and a little bit more about the job. So often, for instance, clinical psychology places at university would want students to have been an assistant psychologist.
Okay. And my next question is, so when students will do the conversion course in master, what they can do with this degree, where they can work? Because if they can't become straight away the professional psychologist, what they can do with this degree?
Well, like I say, it's the first step to becoming a psychologist, so you have to have it, you know, like all the degree, or the conversion or the degree. But I always say to students, it's a good degree if you're not 100% sure what you want to do. So you think, oh, I might go down one of the routes of psychology. Psychology is very broad, so it covers a lot of aspects. So an undergraduate degree and the conversion covers a wide range of psychology topics, the core topics of the BPS. So you've got social psychology, cognitive psychology, developmental, neuropsychology. So when you get onto the course, students might think they want to be one type of psychologist, then realise, actually, I really enjoy this aspect of psychology. You do research methods. That's what, when I came out of my degree, I decided I wanted to be a researcher. I really enjoyed that angle. And it gives you lots and lots of transferable skills. So I always say to students, is kind of, if you kind of thinking you want to go into an area of psychology or an area of supporting and working with people, it's a really good degree, because it's that first stepping stone, and it just gives you lots and lots of broad experience in the area of psychology to explore and really find out what it is that you're interested in.
If I can add something, is the fact that people still nowadays don't have that big knowledge about psychology. When people think about psychology course, they're going to be thinking, okay, I'm just going to be a therapist. While with a psychology degree, you can apply that knowledge to different fields. You can go from business psychology, yes, and other stuff, scientific, criminology as well. So you can, it's a very wide topic that you can apply in different fields. So,
yeah, and it's different to therapy. So it's, in order to become, so you know, it's not a counselling degree. Psychology is different to therapy. So as I mentioned, counselling psychologist is another doctorate that you can go on to after you've done your psychology degree. But you're not a psychologist when you finish a conversion or a psychology degree. But like you say, it opens up so many doors. You'll have found out about so many interesting topics. And you've got loads of transferable skills. People go into kind of marketing, HR. It's one of the degrees that employers like, because you've got, and you know, you do statistics, so you've got that data analysis and that critical thinking and critical evaluation. Within the course, we've tried to embed lots of authentic assessments, so novel and authentic assessments, things that you would use in a workplace setting.
And what about exams?
We don't do any exams. The psychology sector is trying to move away from exams a little bit, and on the conversion and the undergraduate course at ULAW, there is no exams.
So just assignments or?
Just assignments. There's various assignments. There's educational leaflets where we're trying to get you to kind of use the knowledge that you've got to translate it to people that aren't from a psychology background. So that's a good skill, employability skill. The same with poster presentations. We're looking at podcasts. We're embedding podcasts. Students they do debates. They as part of their assessments. There is written assessments like case studies. So you'd be given a case study and then you write that up. There's practical reports as well, which again is something you would need to use as a psychologist, and any other, maybe potentially other areas of employment as well. So we've moved totally away from exams, and we've tried to think about some authentic and novel kind of assignments that we can embed. There's presentations, because that's always a good skill, isn't it? So.
Can you give us the example of case study from the psychologist models, like something interesting?
Yeah, so the developmental, it's lifespan, what's it called now? Lifespan. Oh, I've forgotten now. But it's developmental psychology module, lifespan development it is. Because it's not just about, because often people think of developmental just as children, but it's not. It's all through the lifespan. So students have a choice of a couple of case studies, and they've got to apply the theory, but write up the case study and how they would address and how they would help that case, that client, if you like. So what would they do? What interventions would they put into place? What kind of timeframes would they have for that client? So it's getting them to think, use the theory, but to think and relate it to a specific case, a specific client, a person, if you like.
And which module from undergraduate degree, in your opinion, is the most interesting one?
Well, I'm biased, so we've got an optional module. It's called cyber psychology, and obviously with my interest in technology and how we use and relate with technology, cyber psychology.
You like the cyber?
Yeah.
Cyber psychology.
But it's not core. There is a cyber psychology section now with the BPS, so it's becoming more popular. There is actually a section of cyber psychology, so it's recognised by the BPS, but it's not a core on the programme. You don't study it for the conversion. It's very much, because it's such a short time frame. It is very much the core content that you need in order to get that BPS accreditation. Whereas undergraduate is 3 years full time, so you've got that core content, but you've got a little bit. There's other content in there as well. So the first year of the undergraduate degree is very much getting students embedded into university life and studying at degree level, and because it doesn't count towards their final classification. And then the second year of the degree is very much that core content. So it's kind of like the first year is building the students up to understand some of that core content and those core concepts that are delivered in the second year, and again in the third year. But in the third year, you do have optional modules as well.
And what is the best job people can get after getting this degree? Like the most well paid, because some of the students' motivation is the money, income. So what is the well paid?
I don't know, to be honest. It's probably good. It's a good question. I think clinical is quite well paid. I don't think any area of psychology is particularly well paid. Towards kind of like, if you think about law and business, it's about but it's more interesting.
Practice, it's good. People getting good payments as well, isn't it? Like for £200 per hour.
I promise I don't know, but I think clinical pay as well, because clinical psychology again is one of those courses that you can get paid to study. That's why it's competitive. Forensic psychologists, I think, get paid well. Educational, it's because it's specialised. They all get paid well, but I don't know which one gets paid the most. I just don't know that answer. Sorry.
That's fine. And when you're saying that you're doing the research, so what is exactly your job? What do you do?
My job at ULAW, I'm head of psychology. So obviously, because it's the University of Law, my job is to build up the psychology, to start up the psychology provision. So we've started with that online conversion that we've been talking about. And then in September, we move over to the online conversion is still going on, but then we will roll it over to Leeds. We'll have a face-to-face version of that course in Leeds, and also the BSc starts. So we've got the BSc in psychology at Leeds and also online starting this September. Then the plan is to roll out at our London campus. So we'll set up psychology at the London campus and then roll it out further across the campuses of ULAW. So my job is really to build those campuses and not build the campuses, build the psychology space, the lab space, and get the programs up and running in those campuses and online, and then manage them and manage the staff, because we've got specialised teaching staff, because again, because it's such a broad area, we've got staff that have backgrounds in those areas. So that's another thing. And we have lab space, and we've got a psychology technician at Leeds, and we would have in any of the other labs when we get the psychology running in the other locations. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to be building psychology, because it is an interesting degree. Like I say, it covers so many different topics. You get to know lots of different areas of psychology and understand human behaviour and the brain. So yeah.
We had so many students after COVID, they said we had many students for nursing or for psychology. And they saying that we want to understand ourselves, even like during studies, because the COVID was like a hard time. So many people joining this degree either because they thinking that they can in the future work online and they will gain a lot of skills, but also because they want to help themselves. I'm not sure if this is possible, that by studying psychology you can help yourself in your everyday life.
Maybe to some degree, but what I find, I like the social psychology side of psychology as well, and it's about observing behaviour. So you find that you kind of watching people and seeing the theories come alive with people interacting, and you do it when you're online as well. You can see the theories that you learn, so you can really apply it to the real world, because it is about people. So it is really interesting, and you can self-reflect. But again, a lot of my research is around counselling and therapeutic interventions, whereas psychology isn't specifically about that. So you learn a little bit about those things when you do the undergraduate degree, because there's a lot more. There's a couple of modules around mental health and well-being, so you get to understand that, but it's not on the conversion, because it's not core to the conversion course.
But when you say that you do in your research, so at the University of Law, are you a teacher, the lecturer as well, or you just manage the campus?
I've done some lectures on the dissertation module, and I manage the dissertation module, but at the moment I'm not doing that much teaching at the moment because of the nature of the job. So yeah, but I used to do a lot of teaching. I started off as a researcher, then I moved over as a lecturer, then senior lecturer, then reader. So I have done a lot of lecturing throughout my career. And
before University of Law, where did you work?
I worked at the University of Bolton. I worked there for about quite a few years. Sorry?
I said from one university to another university.
Yeah, it's always been university. The only place that I've worked that's not been a university is Merseyside Police. That was a long time ago. I was a researcher at Merseyside Police. But apart from that, it's been at different institutions, different HE institutions.
And what about the grades? Because, for example, when students study in LLB law, to become a lawyer, they have to pass they need to get first-class degree to become a lawyer solicitors. How is with the psychology?
That's a really good question, actually, a good point, because you need to have a 2-2 in order to get that BPS accreditation. You have to get 2-2 for your undergraduate degree, and you've also got to pass your dissertation.
Okay. And when students failing the modules, which is, let's say, on the undergraduate degree, the most difficult one?
Students often struggle with research methods because they come into it thinking, I don't like numbers, I can't do maths, and it's statistics. So it's kind of, there is issues around that kind of, and sometimes students don't expect that they're going to be doing stats. So that can be a bit of a shock. So students often struggle a little bit, but there's lots of support, and it's not all about stats. So we do qualitative research methods as well. So it's qualitative and quantitative. So when it comes to the dissertation, if you really didn't like the stats side of things, you could do a qualitative piece of work, so it wouldn't impact your dissertation. But yeah, I would say from my past experience, the research methods, statistics side of things can often students often struggle with, because it can be something that they weren't expecting, or they just don't like the kind of maths side of things.
Do you think there is a difference between studying online or on campus, the psychology degree?
Well, at the moment, we've only got the online running. The feedback from students is really, really positive. So they are enjoying it. It depends on you. It depends on what you like. I think for me, it wasn't an option when I was studying in '93 to study online, but I enjoyed being, 18, I enjoyed being around other people and studying that way. But when you've got a busy life, it might be more suitable to kind of just do it online. You've not got the commuting. I work from home now, and I enjoy that because I don't have the commute. So I've got more time, and I really enjoy that. And I don't feel, being a cyber psychologist, I still feel I get a good interaction online as I would do face to face. But it would just depend on the person. It would really just depend on what you want. I've got a family, so I'm not lonely. But if you maybe wanted that interaction, you would prefer to go on campus. But like I say, that interaction.
Yeah, no, that's a news even for us. But it's also important to, I think, educate people that maybe don't know much about, as I said, this kind of different fields in psychology.
But
cyber psychology you can't become a cyber psychologist, but there is a section in the BPS of cyber psychology. So it's a recognised kind of area of psychology. And obviously it's a growing area because more and more things are online and cyberspace and things are happening.
It's only about helping people with mental health issues, or for example, helping couples or who are going to the restaurants, they are all the time on the phones. Yeah.
So cyber psychology is understanding. I just focus on that kind of more pro-social angle, that how can we use it positively, but a lot of cyber psychology is looking at kind of how it's impacting us in a negative way. And because obviously it's technology, isn't it? There's loads of technologies, loads of areas on cyberspace that you can go to, and just seeing how people interact. But it's about how people interact, and some people are interested in the brain and how it impacts our brain. I'm not a neuroscientist, so that kind of area is interesting, but it's beyond me, sort of thing. So yeah, there's lots of kind of areas that you can look at, and how we interact. It's interacting online, and how and why do people kind of because we know people often change the behavior online, so they would act online in a way that they wouldn't do if they were in a face-to-face situation. So
this is interesting.
Yeah, it's a new thing, even for me.
I never heard about cyber psychology. Now we'll be talking with the student. Hey, you can do cyber psychology in the future. I had a question and it came out from my head. 1 second. Do you have any questions, Marta?
Not for now, but
we'll have to do a podcast on cyber psychology.
Yeah, we should, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even with COVID, this psychology field really implemented out, became even bigger, because even now, I'm talking for the previous generation, it was sort of a stigma. Psychology.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think people became more aware about their mental health and realised actually, and it just goes to show as well. I remember when I was a student, there was a core text called the social animal. We are social animals. We like to interact, whether that is online or whatever, because online can enhance that interaction, can't it? But we are social beings. We need. We're pack animals, basically. We need other people, and I think COVID really highlighted that with the isolation, and then people started to feel the impact of that, and that mental health issue and the loneliness kind of came out, and people became more aware. So you're right, it did help reduce the stigma around mental health, and people being more aware that they should look after their mental health.
even on social media, see, like, for example, on TikTok, how can you cope with your mental health? Even disclaimers before some specific TV shows, if you're struggling with your mental health and blah, blah, blah. There is so much awareness right now. So I think on one side, it's really helping. This technology is helping to, like, spread the knowledge of psychology, and also in some cases can increase how.
I have a question.
It's that fine line of when does it impact it and when is it helping, sort of thing. How to use it in moderation and using it that's right for you, basically in a way that's supportive for you and your lifestyle.
So I have, I think, two last questions, because students, the migrant workers, people who came to UK to work and decided to go to university, they have so many fears, like my language is not enough, I'm from different country. What we can advise to them, or how we can, because sometimes they treating us like a therapist, not only the course advisors, what you can study, but also they need help. So how we can help our students to overcome those fears that, oh, I'm a mother, I'm too old, I came to England to work, maybe my English is not my first language, because usually we're helping the mature students. So how we can help them, where we can send them to get help, to normal psychologists, or is there any place where they can get help, maybe online as well?
Well, in a university setting, there's lots of support out there. So if somebody is thinking of studying, there is lots and lots of support, like you say, for students that with English as their second language. There's lots and lots of support. And at the University of Law, we have a student journey advisor. So when you join the university, you get this student journey advisor assigned to you to help you through the process and to signpost you to all the services, because there's wellbeing services, there's counselling services, there's lots and lots of services within a university setting, within the University of Law setting, to help support you through your journey. You also get an academic coach, which is like a person, it is, kind of like a personal tutor to help you throughout your academic studies. And you've got the staff are very friendly. We're psychologists, so we're very, very approachable.
And what about the career advice? Is there an area of the psychology where we can learn as an agent how to help people to choose the right pathway?
Well, we've got a really good employability team at the University of Law, and part of the course we've got, it's called Professional Development. It's not accredited module, but it's resources basically to help students. And on both the master's conversion and the undergraduate, there's an applications of professional practice module, which gives students insight into the different areas of psychology, and also kind of start to help them reflect on the skills that they've got and the skills that they might want to build. So we really try and enhance that employability side of things, because that is the aim, and that is the aim of what students want, isn't it? They want to get this good degree or this conversion to get the next step in their employment and to so we are very, very keen on building those employability skills and really getting students to think about their employability skills, because often when you get to an interview, you that's an interviewer will ask you something and you can't think, but it's kind of pulling that out and realizing, oh yeah, I have done that, I have, so it's recognizing, if you like, the skills that you've got or the skills that you've gained from doing certain tasks within the course. I think that's really important. I think when I was younger, I really struggled with that, because you just didn't recognise what the skills that you had were. So it's really important to pull them out.
Yeah, personal development plan it's important. But I was thinking that there is an, I don't know, test, some tools which we can use that make the test for the student, and they know, oh yes, I will be perfect in business management. Oh, I will be perfect in psychology. I keep looking for like some tests which we can simply give to the student and find out what they are good at.
No, not that. Well, the psychometric test, but I don't think it would. That's more of a careers. You're best asking a careers advisor about that test. I don't know.
That's fine. And coming back to that cyber psychology. So if someone would like to dig into that area, where those people can find the job? Where they need people who like the cyber psychology?
Well, computer games industry is interested in psychologists because we've got that input. I've consulted with a VR game in looking at the content that was in the VR game and that to make sure the psychology was correct, if you like. So the content that was in it was correct and accurate. It wasn't a job. It was just to consult and help. But yeah, there's an app development. People are more and more interested in psychologists' input into any area of life, basically, because psychology is everywhere, isn't it? It's about people interaction, and now it's moving over to that computer interaction and online behavior.
So like
it's difficult because there's it's so broad. Your psychology degree is transferable. Employers like it. Depends on what area you want to go into, but like you say, if it's cyber psychology, you couldn't become a cyber psychologist somewhere because it's not a specialized route, but you could use those skills and maybe in some other environment, maybe go down the route of counselling and go into online counselling, or I don't know. It's because it's so broad. It's always a difficult question for me to answer because it is. You can go in pretty much any area really, because employers like psychology graduates.
So the students after the psychology, they can find some professional job, but they can also do some time to time, like a part-time job, like you did with this game development, right?
Yeah, you could do what I would always encourage students if they've got the capacities to get some sort of volunteer experience as well in an area that they're thinking of going into. Just to help them understand what they might be doing as a psychologist. So if you wanted to go down the counselling psychology route, for example, you might want to volunteer for Childline or something like, or Samaritans, which give great training. You need to give a big commitment, but you've got great training, and it just will give you the skills to realise either you do really like that job or you don't like that job, and that's useful as well. It's all good learning skills, isn't it?
And these days, when I was searching online, like mental health help, let's say, there are many people after like some counseling, and they charge £170 per hour to help other people. So how people like me or Marta, if we need the psychologist's help, we can find out that someone is really professional or just did some few courses, and instead of helping, they can hurt us, isn't it?
Yeah.
So because, like I said, it's very popular now to get advice and all this stuff. So how we can know, let's say I'm going online and I'm trying to find a psychologist, what we should look at to make sure that we're talking with the professional person?
That's a good question as well. So go to the BPS. The BPS has, if you're a chartered psychologist registered with the BPS, you will be on the BPS registration site. So you can find out, so you could check somebody's name if they say they're a chartered psychologist or a professional, one of the professional psychology routes. You could go to the BPS website and check if they are who they say they are and they've got the right qualifications. What else is there you could do? If you're looking at online support services, it's kind of checking whether they're moderated. So that's another thing. If you're seeking support online, some support online is great, it's invaluable to people, but you've just got to make sure that you're getting advice from somebody that is a professional. So go to a moderated service, or a professional service. Because COO, for example, is an online counselling service for young people that I mentioned. It's a free service. It's moderated by counsellors. You can get one-to-ones with counsellors. So it's a secure site, and you can get peer support. But I've done research around forums on Facebook and social media, and people think they're getting professional advice, but they're not professionals they're getting it from. So you've got to be very careful.
And with the clinical psychology, do you know how everyday work life look like? So they go into work in the morning, finish at night, or they're like doctors that work in night shifts? I think I'm
not a clinical psychologist. I did my PhD in the clinical psychology department, but I didn't do clinical psychologist. So, but they would be working in more than likely in a kind of secure setting, but and so the hours will probably vary, but I don't know for 100% because I'm not a clinical psychologist.
And what is your dream? What would you like to be in 5 years? What is your dream in regards to profession?
I don't know, actually. In terms of me?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've only been at ULAW for a year, so I don't know, because I've never thought that far ahead. In hindsight, I did get offered to go on to the clinical psychology degree at Liverpool, and I wish I'd done that as well, just as kind of, like you say, just to build that experience and have that experience. So in hindsight, I would wish I had taken that route, so I'd had both doctorates and I could have chosen. But at the time, I knew I didn't really want to work in that kind of setting. So clinical psychology is often seen as the main kind of psychology job, but I didn't want that kind of work to be my day-to-day, because I just didn't think it would suit me. So again, it's finding out as a psychology student all the different areas of psychology, all the different kind of options, and working out what it is that would best suit you, and not just having this. So often students come in with, I want to be a clinical psychologist, and then when they realise exactly what that entails, they can sometimes change their mind and realise actually my personality might not suit.
But do you think people, after they graduating in this degree, they struggle to get the job, or it's easy to get the job with this degree?
They don't tend to struggle with the job, but they've either got to go on to further study, as we've talked about, or, like I say, employers like psychology graduates. It's one of the top degrees that you can get. So that's why it's a popular degree. It's a really popular degree, and some universities have 400 undergraduates each year joining their course. They can be big degrees. It's a lot of great, but again, if you want to go, for example, down that clinical psychology route, you've got to stand out, because obviously it attracts many students onto it. So at the end of the degree, a lot of students across the country are leaving with that psychology degree. So it's trying to gain those additional skills, and that's something that we want to do. Like I mentioned on this course, is kind of help you as a student pull out what skills you've got. So when you go to an interview, you do stand out. And you've got to build your skills, and like I say, try and get some kind of experience that will help stand you out of the crowd, because there will be a lot of psychologists leaving education each year.
Our students who didn't get the place on psychology degree, they started health and well-being course. Now it's new, health and well-being. So at least something a little bit connected to health and well-being.
Yeah, then they can go on the conversion.
Yeah, exactly.
And get the BPS accreditation.
And can you give us like 2 or 3 modules from master degree from the conversion, and the modules, examples of the modules from master degree?
So we do social and critical. Social psychology is very much about human behaviour, group dynamics, self-identity. What else do we have? We've got neuroscience. That's all about the brain. We have 2 research methods modules. There's lifespan development, which again we've talked about briefly about developmental bringing in the developmental psychology. There's personality and individual differences module.
I like this.
Yeah.
What else is there? What else is there on the masters? There's cognitive psychology. Students really enjoy the cognitive psychology, memory, language, attention, perception. So students find that really interesting. Like I say, I'm biased because I like the social psychology side of things, and cyber psychology lends itself closely to social psychology. What else is there? Research methods I've mentioned, 2 research methods module, and the dissertation module as well. Yeah. And applications of professional practice. Professional psychology, I mentioned that. So that's just giving students that insight into your skill sets that you need to develop, and the areas of psychology that you can go into.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julie. I'm sure this podcast will help our students to make the decision and to have more knowledge about the course, because we have a lot of students at the University of Law since last intake, but I didn't know the subject that deeply. My knowledge after today is much bigger. So thank you so much for your.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and hopefully it helps. But yeah, any other time you want to do another podcast, just let me know, and we.
Cyber.
We should.
A cold and a bunged up nose.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
But nice to meet you both, and thank you for that. But yeah, we can have another chat. It's cyber psychology.
I have to prepare myself for the cyber psychology first.
We need to research a deep one.
Exactly.
I'm doing a subject spotlight, so you can watch that when it comes out.
Okay,
we should.
I'm recording that in a couple of weks. So yeah, and that's on cyber psychology. We're going to be saturated with cyber psychology, and it's only one module on the degree.
So you're doing some recordings, yeah? Where we can find them?
Yeah, they're not there yet. I'm doing them in a couple of weeks.
Are they going to be
I'll let you know.
Open to the public, let's say, or is just like something for the students for ULAW?
I don't know, actually. I'll find out, and because obviously Jake's got your details, so I can contact Jake. But I'm only filming it in a couple of weeks at the end of the month, so it's going to be a while before it comes out. But yeah, I'll find out. Okay. It's got to be available for everybody, because what's the point in doing it?
True. I don't know.
No, only people pay for
marketing activity. It's a marketing activity. So yeah, no, I'll let Jake know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely to meet you both.
Bye. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye. Bye.